Hey guys, so I wanted to share with you today a review of a video monopod that I purchased last week. I've been looking on Amazon for a cheap monopod for some film work that we needed to do. And like everybody does, you start reading the reviews, seeing what other people are saying, check YouTube out. All the reviews on Amazon were pretty solid for the written reviews, but I couldn't find a lot of great videos on YouTube. So I thought, you know what, why don't I make one? I was still a little bit on the fence when I bought this, whether or not it was going to be a good product. So hopefully this can help somebody out there who's thinking about buying this. I was pleasantly surprised with the quality of this monopod. Now, my experience, I have not used very high-end tripods or monopods before. They can be $500, $600, $700. So if that's your experience, this may or may not meet your expectations, but for me, most of my experience has been with old gear that's been handed down to me, so when I got my hands on this, I was pleasantly surprised. And for me, I'm the kind of person who likes to buy nice equipment. I don't like to buy cheap stuff that I have to replace over and over again. The brand is called COMAN, I believe is how you say it. And there's a few different models out there in terms of sizes and what they can hold for weights. So the monopod I ended up purchasing was the COMAN KX3232, and the model on the ball head is Video Ball Head Q5. So I will leave a link in the description below to where you can find this on Amazon. I don't have any affiliation with them or any sponsorship in this video, but just an informational link so you can go on there and see which one I actually purchased. But it is the COMAN KX3232 and the Q5 Video Ball Head. Why don't I show you what came in the bag. So it came boxed, obviously, from Amazon. The monopod comes in its own travel bag, which I thought was kind of a nice touch. If you are traveling with gear, it's nice to be able to just put it in the bag. It's got a strap. You can sling it on your back. Away you go. Inside the bag, there's a little storage pouch. And in the pouch, basically what they include is a little bit of an information sheet that is all in Chinese or some sort of Asian language, so I can't read it. They do have pictures and instructions with it. I don't really think you need instructions with a monopod. If you need instructions on this, maybe you should watch a different video. Warranty card. They do say that there's warranty with this, a 6-year warranty provided from the purchase date for normal wear and tear. I don't know how you go back and do that. In the little bag that comes with it, they do provide you 2 Allen keys, 2 different sizes. There are not a lot of things that you necessarily have to adjust on this, but there are a couple spots for different modes of using the monopod where you can tighten and loosen things, and I will show you those in some videos as to what they're for. Other than that, once you pop the tripod out of the bag, what you get is the monopod itself, which is aluminum by the way, and the pan arm for the fluid head. So the pan arm and the tripod tube, or the monopod tube rather, are solid aluminum. It comes with a nice grip on it. It's a foam grip. I use this pretty steady for 3 or 4 hours a night over the last weekend for 2 different events. It was comfortable in the hand. It doesn't show signs of any wear from any sweaty palms or anything like that so far, so I think it will hold up pretty good. Aside from that, you have locking monopod feet. The one thing I noticed that I think may be an issue in the future is that the feet, they snap into place and lock down, and they're very solid. But when you push in the little tabs, put the feet back up, it doesn't actually lock upwards. So when they're in this stored position, there's nothing actually locking them. I imagine as this monopod wears that these might start to drift downwards as you're using it. So the way this is designed is that you can leave them up, and there is a little ball on the bottom that you can kind of swivel and maneuver on. So I found last weekend there were times when I wanted these down so that I could have a steady base. There's also times when I wanted them up. So going forward, if I'm wanting them up and they start drifting down, that may become an issue. Right now, super solid. Feet aren't bouncing around, they're not going anywhere, so time will tell how well those actually hold up. They are aluminum. The hinges are all aluminum. There's no plastic in the actual hinge mechanism or the locking pin, so that is all aluminum. The swivel head or ball head itself is an aluminum ball head. It does come with a quick release plate, which I'm noticing is now in my camera bag. This is the quick release plate. It's their own quick release system, so if you already have a quick release plate kind of ecosystem that you use, whether a Manfrotto or Arca Swiss plates, you may not have any value for this. I currently, as I said, don't have a lot of high-end tripods or quick release plates, anything like that, so this will be very useful for now. Eventually, if I upgrade, it probably won't serve as much of a purpose, but if you don't have a quick release system, it basically snaps into place, and then once that quick release plate is in position, there's a orange button that allows you to release the plate, and then you have your locking tab to prevent it from sliding. So once it's in there, I found it was solid. I had no issues over the weekend with that plate moving. This whole ball head I'm actually quite impressed with. I do have a ball head on an older tripod, so I have had some experience with them. I have to say it's a solid piece. It's all aluminum. The only plastic on this is the knob and the turn screws and the locking button, but it's all a high quality feel of plastic. They don't feel cheap or like I'm going to strip the knobs or anything like that. And then the plate and the head itself are all aluminum. So I found that movements are quite smooth in terms of pan and tilt. I didn't have any issues. The only issues I had, and it was all my own error, was my camera moving around on the quick release plate, but that's just because I did not tighten the screw enough. And speaking of the screw, they do provide you two sizes of screws. I believe 1/4 inch and 3/8 is the size of the threads. So 1/4 inch is your standard size, and then the 3/8 screw, it's kind of nice. What they've done is they've mounted it in the actual ball head itself. So if you're not using it, you can leave it screwed in here, it doesn't get lost, and you can use the 1/4 inch that it comes with. So that's what I use on my camera. Depending what you have for a camera base or a system, it does come with the other screw. So that was the only issue I had with the camera moving around. Once I really jammed down the screw in my camera, I had no issues. I did notice on Amazon, someone had left a review that felt like that screw was going to strip when they put it into their camera. I did not have that issue. I put a screwdriver on it and I cranked it down. I didn't have any thoughts that that screw was going to strip. So perhaps it was an issue with their camera or their specific monopod that they got, but that just wasn't my experience. In terms of the poles, once you put the feet down, you can basically have access to all 4 of the locking tabs for the poles. These worked great. They are made out of plastic. They feel very solid. They're not a flimsy plastic. They've got a nice clicking sound. So a real positive locking sound to them. I had no issues with the poles moving around. The one issue that I have had, and it'll probably go away as I use this more, is a couple of the tubes are a little sticky. So this one here moves really nice. You see that? If you go to the next section, it moves pretty nice. There's a bit of a sticky spot near the top, and then kind of a similar situation for the lower section. So not a huge issue to me. Again, when you consider that the price of this is about $160 and equivalent Manfrotto monopods are, you know, upwards of $400 to $600, $700. To me, it's a little price to pay. I did spend some time working the tube back and forth. It did loosen it up a fair bit. I imagine as I continue to use it, it will get looser over time. It does get a little bit annoying when you're standing with the monopod and you want the legs to quickly drop down without touching it. So, for example, if I try it with the top section, it'll drop all the way down, which is nice because you don't have to take your hands off your monopod. It drops into position and you can keep filming. I can't do that with the lower one, so it's kind of a little bit sticky. I have to physically reach down off of the camera, pull that leg down, or use my foot on the base to actually bring it down. So that's a little detail. If that's a huge thing to you, then perhaps you might want to consider spending a bit more money. But I imagine over time that that's going to loosen up and it won't be that big of a deal. The other nice feature on the base of this monopod is the fact that there is a locking collar. This one's got a little wing nut design where you can basically unscrew this wing nut and it will allow the bottom feet to swivel a certain amount of degrees to allow you to do a rock and tilt kind of motion with the monopod. Now the amount of tilt you get is all dependent upon how high you have the monopod up in the air, but I found that to be quite smooth. The way that you can adjust the tension on the little ball socket down here is with a hole in the bottom of the monopod. That's what one of the Allen keys are for. They give you an Allen key so that you can stick it in the bottom and adjust the tension. And you'll have to do that as this monopod wears. So as you start to wear the actual socket of that ball, it will get looser and you can go back in and tighten it up. So long term, again, I can't speak to the reliability of that. It worked fine for me. I imagine there will come a point when you just completely wear that ball socket out and perhaps tightening that screw will no longer do anything. The other thing it allows you to do is actually rotate the monopod. So if you wanted to do a pan motion without using the ball head for your pan, you could actually rotate the monopod that way. When you're not using the ball socket in the bottom, you simply tighten that wing nut down. Once you get a good firm turn on that nut, I didn't have any issues with unwanted motion or movement between this monopod tube and its base. So far so good. Back to the ball head itself, there is the ability to add on a pan arm, which is a aluminum arm and a plastic grip with a rubber coating on it, so it fits nice in your hand. And you can put this arm on either side of the ball head, which I found convenient. I started out with it on the left side, which is, I'm right-handed, so my non-dominant hand. And after a couple hours of using it, I found that I wanted it on the right side. It just worked better for the way I was using my camera, the way I was gripping my camera. So it was nice to be able to put this pan arm on either side. And I know there are some models out there where it doesn't allow you to do that. So the ability to put that pan arm on the left side or the right side allows you to kind of customize it to how you want to use it. We've got basically our tilt locking knob. So depending on how much tension you put on this knob, we'll adjust the amount of tension that is put on the actual fluid head. Again, I found this to have a very smooth action to it, depending on how much motion I put into the lever and how tight I have this pan knob. So I can take the tension right off of that knob, and as you can see, it moves up and down quite fast, but still quite fluid. Now, if I put some tension on that knob, it moves down a little bit slower. And then with a little bit of assistance, allows you to have nice, smooth tilt motions. And then the same for pan. So with pan, you do have this knob right here, which is our pan lock. And you can take tension off of that completely. This handle is in the best spot for this, so let me move it. With no tension on the pan lock, you basically are free to rotate. And there's still a bit of fluid drag on that, so it's a nice smooth motion. And then as you add more and more tension onto it, it basically just puts resistance on it. I find it to be perfectly smooth for what I needed to do with it. And then also allows you to do a combination of panning and tilting, which just takes some practice and getting coordination with those movements. But I was able to achieve some really cool shots with this. Pan and tilt, rocking into a shot, grabbing focus on something, racking into a shot to get some cool focus pulls. So it worked really well for what I was doing. Not all my lenses are stabilized lenses, so on lenses that aren't stabilized, I find it, even being very steady with the camera, hard to get smooth, usable footage without doing a lot of stabilization in post-process. This, I was actually able to get out some really smooth, usable footage that I could put some light stabilization on and have a really fluid shot. So the other feature on the ball head, it does have a small bubble level, so you could verify that your monopod is actually level. I find it a little bit hard to see this when the ball head is in its vertical spot because it's tucked down underneath the base. However, if you did need to really verify that everything was level, you could just tilt your ball head up, which exposes the bubble level a lot easier, and then actually bring your ball head back down. The other nice feature, you've probably seen it, is this handle. So they do give you a handle which comes on a little rotating collar underneath of the ball head. That is a great little add to just add an extra level of stability to your monopod. So there's many times where I'd be walking around with my hand or my arm on the pan lever, and my other hand was tucked into that strap, and I could almost then pull the actual monopod against my arm on this side and give me an extra level of stability as I was using the monopod. You can take that ball head right off, and then you have a lot more compact of a pole. The one thing that with that ball head is it does make it a little bit big and a little bit heavy. So if you're just going out to maybe do some photography work, you didn't need the actual ball head, you can take that right off and simply have a nice compact monopod. So the one thing you'll have to do is if you want to use this directly onto your camera without the ball head, you'll have to flip this screw over. This is a two-sided screw. One side is 3/8, which fits into the ball head, and then the other side is 1/4 inch, which would fit into your camera. So basically there's another Allen head screw, and you take the included Allen key. Once you unscrew it, you basically take out this two-sided screw, put it back in the other way, tighten that all back down, and you can basically screw your camera directly onto the top of the pole. The other thing that you can do with the included Allen key is remove the entire post from the tripod feet on the bottom of the monopod. So if you take your other Allen key here, and there's a small screw in the yellow collar at the bottom. This yellow collar is a anodized aluminum collar. If you unscrew the set screw that is in it, it allows you to remove the actual pole from the tripod base, which again is just an extra mode that you can use this monopod in. So really there's kind of 3 ways that you could use this. The feet you could actually use, you want to screw it right into the bottom of your camera and just have feet, and then you could actually put your ball head back on here. So you could kind of have a tabletop tripod if you're doing product shots, you're doing something that doesn't involve the actual monopod tube. You could physically now have a ball head on kind of a tabletop tripod, and you could be doing some cool pans, some cool tilts, or some rotations, depending on what it is you're filming. I honestly think for the value, this is a great setup. I will update this video if anything changes in the near future in terms of its reliability, its quality, any issues that I have with it. But at this point, I'm quite happy with this purchase. I just want to give you guys some insight as to how this worked for me. Hopefully this review is helpful, gives you a bit of confidence in purchasing the COMAN Monopod. If you found this video helpful, leave a like on it. Any questions about the product, you can leave them in the questions below, and I'll try to get back to you with whatever answers I can. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this as we purchase gear that helps us build this channel and grow this channel. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.